Tomorrow at PAX East, the Grounded developers will be showing off some new content from the next update. As of right now, there aren't many details on what to expect, but we have had some hints. With that said, I want to take a look at what I think will be added to Grounded in the next update. Before we begin, I want to thank all my channel members for helping make videos like this possible. You can support the channel for as little as $2 a month. To learn more, click the join button below or the link in the description. Let's get started. So like I said in the intro, we're not exactly sure what everything that's going to come in the next update, which is typically the case. However, there are a couple things that were mentioned. So what I did was I looked at all the things that were mentioned, I looked at the feature board, and what I did was I came up with a list of 9 things I think could be added in the next update. And we're going to go through those from the top to the bottom. The top's going to be the ones that I think are most likely, which are some of them are probably like a guarantee to happen. And then we'll get to the bottom where these are things that are going to be, they might happen. There's some hints that they might happen, but there's no guarantee that they're going to happen in this update or if ever. Now, on this list is going to be the things, I'm not going to include things like new resources and stuff like that because we're probably going to get new resources. There's probably going to be a couple new bugs that we don't know about. There is one bug on my list, which we'll get to at the end, so stick around for that one. And I have a reason for suggesting why that one's going to be on there. But aside from the normal things, like maybe having a new armor set or something like that, because of course, if they add a new bug, we're probably going to get a new armor set or a new weapon. But anyway, let's look at the 9 things that I think are going to be could be added in this next update. First up on the list is going to be armor upgrades. Armor upgrades were mentioned in the developer live stream a couple weeks ago when Adam Brennicky was on there. So he's the game director. He said armor upgrades are coming. I do believe they're supposed to be coming in this update. And the way they're going to work is they're going to be similar to how the upgrades work for weapons, where you have to upgrade by level. However, they are going to be different. So it sounds like they're not going to be using the same upgrade resources, or even if they do, they're going to have different effects. So of course, the weapons can be upgraded using quartzite up to level 5. Then you have to make globs using either the quartzite, the salt shards, the mint shards, or the spicy shards. And those can give you the 4 different paths of mighty, spicy, fresh, and salty. And different insects have strengths and weaknesses against those. So that's the way they did the weapons. The armor sounds like it's going to be different. They haven't really given any hints to it. One way I would think would be pretty cool. I have no insight on this. I'm just pure speculation. It could be something like perhaps all armors can have all the same upgrades, kind of how the weapons do. So maybe you have a slow-moving armor, maybe a roly-poly armor, and maybe you just want to have better stamina on it. So maybe you can add some kind of stamina upgrade, or perhaps you can move faster or something like that. So that's the kind of thing I'm looking for. Although, like I said, maybe it's going to be stuff where it provides certain protection against certain insects or something like that. Maybe they have poison protection. Who knows? It's going to be interesting to see. But I think armor upgrades are extremely likely to be added in this next update, and hopefully will be shown in the developer live stream this weekend. Next up is going to be something that typically happens every update, and that's going to be new scabs. So, of course, your scabs are over here in the OS, and you probably have collected a bunch of these. These are purely cosmetic, but what they do is they just allow you to change the color, so we'll just pick a different one just to show you. So you can customize the way your HUD looks here or your UI looks. So I'm sure there's usually at least one added in every update. I'm going to guess there's going to be 1 to 2 added in this update, as that's just typical. I'm pretty sure the last update, the end of the wood update, I think there was one inside the termite hill, and there's also one on the picnic table. I think there was only 2. Correct me if I'm wrong, but there was at least 2. So I'm expecting 1 to 2 of those. Nothing big, but that's something easy they can put in the game. That doesn't take much work or much resources, in my opinion. So I can expect those. In addition to that, it's going to be number 3 on the list is going to be, I'm expecting there to be probably between like 6 and 10 new milk molars. So of course, the Into the Wood update, I think added, was it 8 or 10 milk molars? I think it was 5 of each. So I think it was 5 mega, 5 milk, and they were spread around the map. So if we look at the map real quick, this area of the map was updated and the milk molars were added. And there was one, I think there was one in the termite hill. There was a couple down here. They were basically all over the place here. So I think there was 10 of them in this new area. So I'm expecting that a new area of the map's going to be populated, and if so, they're going to add more milk molars. Even if they don't populate a new area of the map, they did hint at the fact that they're going to go back and redo some parts of they're going to look at the progression from the beginning to the end. So perhaps they would put milk molars back in other areas we've already explored, just to give a reason to go back there. But I do expect them to add more milk molars with every update, just so we can get to the point where we can max everything out. Moving along is going to be, number 4 is going to be at least 1 burgle chip. So every update has at least 1 burgle chip. Usually there's more than 1. And the burgle chips, there's currently, if you look in the data, let's see if I have them on here. I don't think I have them all. Okay, so on this creative world, I have 9 out of 17. I think we can currently get 10 out of 17. So I think there's 7 left to come. Now, I don't know how many updates they're planning between now and the end of the year. I would speculate there's probably going to only be this one coming up soon, either this week or in May. There's probably going to be one over the summer, and then it'll probably be full release. So if they squeeze in another one, we might have 4. which means they're probably going to have to add at least two Burgle chips per. Although they did say they're going to save the story, most of the story content for the end of when the full release comes. So maybe most of the Burgle chips will be held for the end. But I do expect there to be at least one new Burgle chip, because that's going to let us purchase some type of upgrade from Burgle, whether it's new building pieces or actually, if they're adding armor upgrades, there's surely going to be a new Burgle chip, because we're probably going to have to get that Burgle chip in order to be able to make the armor upgrade station, whatever that crafting station is going to be. Moving on to next after this is going to be number 5. That's going to be base defenses. This is something I've been looking forward to and was hoping they would bring back to the game. So if you played the game at launch way back in, what was it, July of 2020, your bases would actually get raided periodically by larvae, and it ended up getting to the point where there was like some kind of bug where they were spawning too many of them, and they would just destroy your base. So they ended up removing them from the game. They've never brought them back, but during that same developer live stream where the armor upgrades were mentioned, it was confirmed that base defenses are coming. Now, it was not mentioned whether they're coming in this update next or if they're going to be coming along later on. I would suspect that there's a chance they're going to come, at least their first iteration, in this next update, the one that's coming up shortly, because it would make sense to put them in now as a first go around, just so they can get feedback on them, to see how players like them, what changes they can make, so that by the time the full release comes, they can be refined down to the point where they add tons of replayability. So I would expect base defenses. I think there's a good chance they're going to come in this update in some form, and of course along with those is going to have to be some type of new traps and stuff like that, because right now we only have spike traps, and imagine getting hit with waves of bugs and only be able to use the spike traps. And I guess you could use the tripwire bombs, but they're super expensive. The lure traps don't really tend to do very much right now, so I would expect there to be some type of new traps. Not sure what. There's been no hint of that, but just defending your base by using your melee weapons or your ranged weapons and the spike traps is probably not going to cut it unless the base raids are super easy. So I would expect some traps to come along with the base defenses. Beyond that is going to be, these are going to be things that one of the last thing on the list is going to be something that I think is definitely going to happen, but the next 3 are just pure speculation. And the first one's going to be something that I suggested based on feedback from one of my streams, and that was a new pair of slippers called the Scarab slippers. Now, I have no idea if I'm going to be able to find a scarab while I'm wandering around up here. We can walk over to the scanner station real quick and see if we can find one if you're not sure what they look like, or maybe I'll run into one, because we are on create. There should be, yeah, there's bugs here. It's created with bugs. But the scarabs, of course, right now provide twinkling shells. The twinkling shells only give you, well, they're basically only used for upgrading your weapons to levels 8 and 9, because you need them to make the jewels. And I suggested this based on some feedback from one of my streams, to add scarab slippers, because the scarabs, of course, are super quick. They're hard to catch. They can get away real easily. And it would be cool to have, because I have aphid slippers on right now. I think they give you like 10% movement speed. Because the scarabs are so fast, I thought it would be interesting if they could add scarab slippers, which would give you the ability to run at maybe 30% speed. It would also give extra use for the twinkling shells. Maybe even the scarabs drop something else, because right now I think the aphid slippers cost raw aphid meat to make. So maybe the scarabs, instead of just dropping the twinkling shells, could also drop meat. That might have been one right there. No, that's not it. Well, maybe we'll see one while I'm still talking, but I'm sure you guys know what scarabs are anyway. So I thought scarab slippers could be coming. That would be something not that difficult to add to the game, in my opinion. It basically just be a reskin of the current slippers that are in the game, just adding the fact that you're going to be using different parts from the scarabs. We'll scan for them real quick just to see if I can find one. What are they called? Twinkling shells. Oh, there's allegedly one right there. Well, we'll probably see one coming out of here, because one comes out of here most of the time. So while we're moving on to the next thing, number 7 on my list of things that might be coming are going to be a couple new weapons. And I think it would make sense. Most updates have new weapons, so I think it would make sense if they're going to add a couple weapons. Now, hopefully they don't just add another sword or another mace or something like that. I'm hoping they actually add a tier 3 dagger. And this will actually maybe go along with the final item on my list, which I'm going to show in just a second where it might come. And the daggers right now, there's tier 1 and tier 2 daggers. They have high attack speed, but they have low damage. So what ends up happening is they just get outclassed by the swords and the tier 3 weapons, the maces and stuff like that. So it would make sense for them to add a tier 3 dagger. And then along with that, number 8 on our list is going to be a tier 3 spear, because currently there's only tier 1 and tier 2 spears. So I think it would make sense if, oh, there's the scarab right there. So there's a little guy, maybe the scarab slippers will come from him. So number 8 on the list is going to be a tier 3 spear. Like I said, not sure what these will be made out of, but I think it would make sense to add a tier 3 dagger and a tier 3 spear, just so that there's a tier 3 weapon for every option, because right now it just kind of feels like once you get the tier 3 weapons, there's just really, I mean, you can make builds using the other weapons, but in general, it just doesn't seem like it's worth it to use those weapons. Can I make it up here? It's been quite a while. But we're going to make our way up here to the last spot that I want to show you. And the reason for this is that I think there's a chance we might get a new bug up here. I just got to remember how to get up here. Because one thing that's kind of interesting is, like, there's, like, legit no reason to go back up into the termite hill once you've completed it, at least not for me. Because I've already gotten everything out of here. Why do I, there's no reason for me to go up here. And now I can't remember how to go up here. All right, we'll go up here. I wanted to get under this tarp because that's where I think we might see a new bug. Maybe give us a reason to come back up here. And that new bug is perhaps going to be a Black Widow. If you played the public test server during the Into the Wood update, at the very beginning, there was a insect underneath this tarp that was quickly removed from the game. So I wasn't sure if it was like, was this an accident? Was it intended? But basically underneath this tarp, you're going to see a bunch of spider webs up here. I don't think there's any bugs up here anymore. Right now, there's just a milk molar. So when the public test server first opened up, there was a bunch of spiderlings in here, but they weren't regular spiderlings. They were Black Widowlings. And this would be a perfect place to have a Black Widow, because apparently Black Widows like to live near wood. And funny and not funny enough, because I don't like spiders. Last week when I was doing some gardening work, I actually found a Black Widow in my front yard, like right in my garden. And I nearly touched it by accident because I didn't know it was there. So I got rid of it. I'm okay now. But I almost thought like maybe that was a sign that they're going to come in this next update. So the 9th thing I think is going to be possibly a Black Widow. And if they had a Black Widow, maybe it's going to be a boss. Maybe it's just going to be a standalone. But this kind of looks like a boss lair, so maybe it'll be a mini boss. Although to me, in my opinion, a Black Widow will be much more dangerous to fight than a Broodmother, because the Broodmothers are typically, they're not really aggressive. While a Black Widow is highly toxic and will kill you, and I think it can kill you. It is toxic. If you get bit by a Black Widow, your probably best bet is to go to a hospital or a doctor or something like that, because otherwise you're going to get really sick and perhaps die from it. So a Black Widow might be coming. So those are the things I think might be coming in this next update. We might see some of them tomorrow in the PAX East live stream. Let me know down in the comments what you think might be coming, what you would like to see. If you found this video interesting, make sure to click the like button and consider subscribing for more videos just like this. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video.